It's just approaching 7:45. Good morning if you've just joined us. Now, Prince Harry's comments this morning have put mental health right to the top of the news agenda. But how would you feel about compulsory lessons on the subject being taught to children from the age of 5?
An open letter to the Times today, signed by 25 clinical psychologists and psychiatrists, says to introduce the subject in school at a young age would increase early diagnosis and access to help.
We've got a couple of guests to talk about this. Adam Shaw, who has experienced mental health issues from the age of 5, is here in the studio. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in, Adam. Head teacher Siobhan Collingwood is in our Cardiff studio. Siobhan, good morning to you, and thanks very much indeed for your time this morning. Adam, to you first of all. I mean, I said you suffered with mental health problems. Just at the age of 5, just explain how you knew and how they manifested themselves.
Well, I knew something wasn't right. I was suffering from terribly intrusive thoughts. At the time, I didn't know it was a mental health problem. I just didn't feel right. I knew something wasn't right, and there was no education around it. I couldn't confide in anyone because I didn't know what was happening. It was never mentioned in school, never mentioned with my parents. Generation after generation has been let down by this because we give mental illness more power than it deserves by not encouraging conversations. So of course, growing up in the 80s and 90s, the only time I heard about mental health problems were on the news, and it was usually akin to something tragic happening, like somebody killing somebody, and it was put down to mental. So that's just fear, and it builds fear, and it was mental torture. And there's a lot of children, 3 in every classroom, going through some form of mental health problem, and we need to address this.
And you want to address it by compulsory lessons in schools?
Absolutely, it must be compulsory. What we're doing at the moment is not working. It's a box-ticking exercise, and we must make this compulsory because mental health education and mental health touches everything in society. It's pervasive. It filters right through to the economy, right through to the NHS, and that's why we've launched a petition. And I urge anybody who has children who has a passion about mental health to go and sign our petition. We've got 60,000 signatures already. If they go to our website, the Shawmine Foundation, that's SHAW, or our Facebook page, they can sign this petition, and we need to get it to 100,000 so the government can debate it.
Okay. Siobhan, let's talk to you. You are a head teacher in our studio in Cardiff this morning. At a time when schools' budgets are, as we well know, very stretched, is this something that you think is a good idea and something that should be done?
I think anything that raises the profile of children's mental health and well-being is good, and certainly times have changed since your guest's story about his experiences. Schools are now very well equipped for dealing with children's mental health and well-being provision, but I do fear that a single lesson is not really going to address the depth of the issues. Children's mental health issues are deeper and more profound than that, and I'm worried that this could just become a sticking plaster approach. Schools at the moment have extensive pastoral provision that they pay for within schools out of their own budgets, and those are under serious threat at the moment from the most stringent budget cuts that schools have faced in the generation.
If there was a compulsory lesson, it would put it on the curriculum and really would be putting it out there, wouldn't it, and really raising the profile.
It would, but a single lesson that might be covered every so often is not going to put it high profile. What puts it more high profile is the approach that schools are trying to use at present, which is to incorporate a values-based education in which we look at skills like resilience, we look at skills like independence, being happy, and we build those into lessons on a much more regular basis than just a single one-off lesson every now and again. But again, that is under pressure from a test-driven curriculum, which is narrowing the agenda for children and narrowing the curriculum experience and leaving less time for teachers to be able to address those issues in the extent that they really want to.
Adam, we've heard today about Prince Harry talking about his mental health problems. I guess if anyone of that kind of standing talks about this, you would welcome it.
I'm so pleased he's come out and said that today, because that's just the thing. He's an example of what's currently going wrong with society and mental health, because he's shown that for the last 20 years He kept it to himself until he got to breaking point. And that's what's going on with society and mental health at the moment. I absolutely agree with your other speaker there that there's a lot of pressure on teachers, but teachers need to be our heroes in this, and the government needs to support the teachers to do this. It absolutely has to be compulsory. There's no excuse. It's as fundamental as reading and writing. It's a life skill, understanding our mental health. It touches everything. So Prince Harry coming out is a wonderful thing, and it highlights where the failings are, because Prince Harry didn't receive any mental health education. That's why he got to the point of 20 years and not speaking to anyone. He got to breaking point. That's where I got to, because it wasn't normalised to talk about. And the only way we can do that is make it compulsory.
Adam, thank you very much indeed. Siobhan, to you too in our studio in Cardiff. Thank you both very much indeed for coming on.
Thank you.
And Carol's bringing us the weather this morning from Spitalfields City Farm in central